Okay, that's take one for Professor Marston and the Wonder Women. Cold open. Professor Marston and the Wonder Women, cold open. Take one, take one.
It's not the sequel I was expecting, but I liked it. I suddenly feel like I was denied a much more interesting conception of the Gal Gadot version. Yeah, hard to believe the dude who thought this up knew how to party. So it turns out Diana has two mommies, and Dad was pretty goddamn pleased with himself. You know, some people are just glad when their spouse likes some of the same TV shows they do. I suddenly feel like I was denied a much more interesting conception of the Linda Carter version. Now I want to know what the hell whoever thought this up was into. Let's just say this one will rope you in. Let's just say this one will command your attention. Let's just say this one is bound to be one of the year's best films. I suddenly feel like I was denied a much more interesting conception of the Kathy Lee Crosby version. Look it up. Why yes, I have gotten all that out of my system. And good thing too, because this movie actually really good. Okay, so I'm still a little bit surprised that this exists. See, for those of you who don't know, DC Comics and now Warner Brothers spent the better part of the last several decades working really hard to avoid a lot of extended conversation about Wonder Woman creator William Moulton Marston, a Harvard psychology professor and inventor of the lie detector. Some of that, of course, is because of long litigated rights issues with the professor's family and estate, but it's also because, well, you know how public morality crusaders were going after superheroes in the late 40s and early 50s, and writers got dragged in front of committees to testify that no, Batman and Robin aren't supposed to be gay, no, Superman isn't secretly communist propaganda? Well, William Marston could not make that same sort of denial honestly, because Wonder Woman actually was a vehicle through which he sought to explore and impart his then radical theories on human psychology, gender, feminism, sexuality, societal relationships, as expressed through metaphors of bondage, dominance, and submission role-play, developed in part through collaboration with his wife Elizabeth and their mutual female partner Olive Byrne, with whom they lived in a committed BDSM-practicing three-way romantic relationship. So yeah, amazingly, DC has pretty much up until recently not been too keen to pop open that page in the family album while they were trying to sell lunchboxes and action figures. But now, the same year that Wonder Woman becomes the genre film sensation of the summer, somebody went and made a glossy historical biopic all about it. Life comes at you fast. The film is mainly structured as a series of flashbacks, with Luke Evans as Marston doggedly attempting to double-talk his way through an indecency investigation into the content of his comics, with each probing question revealing another piece of the life story that the narrative implies would coalesce into the Wonder Woman mythology, beginning with the Professor and Rebecca Hall as Elizabeth, toiling as married Harvard researchers when he develops a crush on Bella Heathcote's Olive when she turns up as one of his student volunteers. A dynamic that his wife regards, interestingly, all things considered, only to be thrown a curveball when the less naive than she appears younger woman declares that she's fallen head over heels for both of them. Soon enough, the three have leapt wholeheartedly into a passionate, genuinely sweet, if unconventional, especially for the time, family unit that includes an increasingly urgent need for Marston to provide both financially and for the protection of his loved ones from the sometimes violent prejudices of a world that sees their lifestyle as strange at best and outright evil as worst, eventually hitting on the inspiration to create a female-led superhero comic that could earn them some money and also maybe help make the world of tomorrow a little more tolerant in the process. Now, if you already know most of this story, you'll notice right off the bat that there's been some creative license taken in the origin of Wonder Woman aspects of this, i.e. positing that the character herself represented a fusion of Elizabeth and Olive into a single perfect ideal woman, which has long been a popular fan theory for decades, but isn't necessarily a known thing. But the fact is, the Wonder Woman aspect of the story, however significant, is ultimately just the hook, in much the same way that, say, most sports movies are not actually about whatever the big final game is. As the delightfully cheeky title implies, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman is very much about the unusual but also very sincere relationship of these three characters. And in that respect, it's pretty damn wonderful, actually. This is a terrific film. Thoughtful, funny, moving, smart, sexy. It's easily among the best dramas I've seen this year and certainly one of the most unique and interesting, to say nothing of being an impressive career ascendancy for writer-director Angela Robinson, a prolific television auteur whose previous most prominent cinematic work included Debs and the Lindsay Lohan starring remake of Herbie the Love Bug. Really. Simply put, this is a film that works because it's a fascinating character study of intriguing characters realized through great performances. The always underappreciated Evans renders Marston as one part swaggering, charismatic stud and one part sheepishly grinning, overgrown teenager, whom the camera constantly catches wearing an expression that says nothing so much as, "Is this my real life?" Holy cow, this is my real life! Bella Heathcote continues to impress as a woman who's quietly formidable even before she understands her own power, but the standout of the three is absolutely Rebecca Hall as Elizabeth, who is giving a next-level performance in a career that's already pretty impressive. Now, it certainly helps that Hall has the most interesting and complicated character by far, a sharp, takes-no-bullshit modern woman who believes herself to be the most self-aware, open-minded, progressively inclined person you could imagine, but who, when confronted with unexpected feelings about her sexuality and how she may wish to express it, finds herself wrestling with her own prejudices against her own desires. That's an intriguing space to explore, particularly as the film settles into a dynamic of her husband and Olive working in tandem to help her accept her true self and embrace her happiness. And what's truly remarkable about that is how normal it's all presented, in terms of the same basic story beats and oral visual signifiers you'd expect from a more conventional love story, here being applied to a thoroughly unconventional one, which certainly appears to have been the filmmaker's quietly subversive point. Here we have a film where potentially the iconic scene, as in, we know this is important, that's why it's the poster, involves our title character beaming with pride as he observes his wife being seduced and or gently coached into realizing her inner dominatrix, I suppose, by their mutual girlfriend, and rather than being played as a lurid, sleazy, objectifying, or voyeuristic thing, it's presented with the sort of gauzy cinematography, golden-hued lighting, and soaring, inspirational music that you'd expect from a scene about someone in another movie discovering their hidden talent for dancing or painting or playing an instrument. Now that tone, coupled with the way the narrative elsewhere frames its heroes as bracing against the prejudice of their neighbors with the same air of righteous affirmation that films in earlier eras afforded stories of, say, interracial marriage, ultimately makes this relatively small-scaled, modestly dramatic comic book biopic feel profound, and maybe even a little bit revolutionary. It's certainly the only film I can think of recently where the words radical feminist are used as an unironic compliment. And while obviously the two productions are utterly unrelated, I'd offer that it makes a vital companion piece to the recent Wonder Woman movie for grown-up fans. That film became the breakout blockbuster sensation of the year so far, in large part by faithfully translating the forward-looking, still radical spirit of its source material to the screen. And this film offers up an affirming, quietly powerful rendering of the remarkable lives where that spirit came from. 4 stars, a terrific film that will surely end up as one of the year's best. Don't miss it.